your boss say that the price is not competitive enough. So then we have this major concern, or let's say concept, how some people perceive a great negotiator. Now, as you see there on the left, somehow the successful negotiator is portrayed as a Superman, and at other times as the villain Lex Luthor, that's on the right, using hardcore tactics and twisting the arms of fire and so on. However, the real truth about great negotiators is that anyone can become a negotiator, but not everyone will actually become one, because you have to know how to do it right. Now, in the training videos, we talked about the practice makes perfect myth, and actually what we mentioned is that practice makes only permanent. Only the right practice actually makes perfect. And in step 7, what Omid is going to do, that he's going to show that you don't have to be twisting actually supplier's arm, but on the contrary, he will show you how to make the supplier feel that they got a great gain with you. Okay, another thing that I would like to make clear, when you're done with this online class, at the end we're going to invite you to explore together with Omid to help you really reach that mastery level in purchasing negotiator, so that we can work together. Now, you see, one of the things that people ask us quite often is why our online classes are free, while other organizations actually they charge pretty dearly for such online classes. Now, we offer very straightforward, let me tell you why. We offer our online classes for free because, as we mentioned earlier, we provide classroom trainings. Now, there's a good chance that after we're done with this online class, you probably might find this of such a great value that you may want to consider our classroom trainings. Now, with this said, please understand that I'm not trying to offer a sales pitch in disguise. Very simply, what I believe is that, we see this webinars as an investment in you. You've already invested in this class with your time by making yourself available to be here. And now on our side, we're investing back by offering you an unparalleled opportunity for you to learn 7 key steps to start on your journey to being a successful negotiator. And what we've learned from practice is
Hello everybody and welcome to this online class webinar titled
When You Become a Better Strategic Buyer, a Better Negotiator, a Better Purchaser. In purchasing, 7 steps to negotiate win-win agreements. You also become a better suppliers. My name, so it makes sense. My name is Artin Vakari, and I am for us to actually take a risk by offering this online class for free and fully invest with you. Now, what I believe is that, hey, if we are right for each other, we're going to reap the rewards later on. If not, you'll still get an education on negotiation skills absolutely for free. So I hope this is fair, okay? And also what I need you to understand right now is that while at the end of the online class we're going to ask that you work with us, we can't actually work with everybody. As a matter of fact, what's important to understand is that whether we work together or not, you do this on your own or you get other people to help you, you must have 2 things. First of all, you get to be willing to push out of your comfort zone. Now, I know there's a fish bowl there as well, the picture of a tiger or leopard. I'm coming soon into why they are there. But listen, again, whether we work together or not, there's going to be times when it gets tough. And it's going to be very uncomfortable. For example, what might happen, you may need to call the supplier's bluff eye to eye, even when you know what to do and how to do it, because this is not easy as it involves people's emotions. But the fact is that everybody is going to hit these challenges, and if you're not willing to push through these challenges, if you're not willing to break through your comfort zone, I'll be frank, you will not be successful whether you're our client or not, or whether you do it on your own. But when you break out of your comfort zone, you'll find out that you don't compete with too many fish. Now we're coming to the fish bowl there. In the same bowl is that when you jump out and go into another bowl, you'll find that the bowl is bigger and that's yours only. Or as Omid mentioned earlier, you're going to have a new and bigger pie. Now the second thing, which is equally as important, is that you got to commit to take action. I know this is obvious, but here's what we found. There's people who actually say they want to take action, they want to do things, but they never take any action, never do anything. Now, these are the people sometimes who say they got 10, 15 or 20 years experience, but in reality they have 1 year experience 20 times. Now, there's also other people who actually enjoy what they learn take the material, but never implement any of the strategies that they learn and the strategies that we show them. So actually it's a waste of their time and it's a waste of our time as well. Now, why we're doing this, we're telling this upfront because these are must, and these are things that you got to have. All right? So now what I'd like to do is to get Omid to talk about step one, but before that, by now you probably know that while it sounds crazy that a supplier can make 100% or more margin, according to sparedmatters.com, an organization in UK paid 673% margin on an IT purchase. We talked about this during our video training that you would have watched the days before. So before we stop suppliers overcharging by 600% or more, the first step is to stop fighting fires. Now, I believe that what stops many people from becoming great in negotiation in Omid, it's not that their skill levels, it's not their IQ or talent for that matter, but the thing is that they cannot get started, and usually it's for no fault of their own, because there's too much to do. So before we even think about talking to the supplier and negotiating successfully a lower total cost of ownership, we need to take the time to prepare, and to do that we need to create time in our day-to-day work. To prepare well. So Omid right now is going to show why people are stuck, as you can see there, with and overloaded with so many activities, but more importantly, after this, he's going to show how to overcome this issue, not having enough time and fighting fires. Omid, over to you.
Here's what's going on. Purchasing more than any other profession, procurement, more than any other profession out there, is victim to management by distraction.
Threat
Procurement
has been detected.
professionals and I know this from having taught courses and done consulting in more than 15 countries over 20 years, spend 75% 75 to 80% of their day in unproductive, unplanned activities. And it has nothing to do with their capabilities. It has nothing to do with their intelligence. It's because of how workload is structured and because they're letting the work manage them instead of them managing the work. How does this happen? How do procurement professionals, instead of being procurement professionals, become full-time firefighters? Well, first it happens because management doesn't have enough headcount to fund both negotiators and order placers, so they combine the roles. They think that they're being smart. They won't hire as many headcount, and they can't get authorization for as many headcounts, so they'll have the few headcount that they do get authorization for, both place orders and both negotiate. Well, what happens after that? It's a big problem, because purchase orders are always urgent. There's no such thing as a customer who doesn't care when their items come into the dock. Everything is urgent. And so purchasing professionals have to drop everything. Procurement professionals have to prioritize tactical purchase order over negotiations. And as a consequence of doing that, we get to step 3. Because they drop everything to get to the purchase orders and to make sure those items get in on time, what happens is they only demonstrate average results in negotiations, not because they lack the skill to negotiate, but because they're spending all their time chasing purchase orders and on-time deliveries and supplier excursions and delivery problems and customer phone calls related to delivery and purchase orders. All of that takes time, and I have yet to find a procurement professional in this position who feels like they have enough time to prepare for negotiations. And so management sees this. They look at the symptom and they don't see the root cause as we go to step 4. They view this, the lack of solid results in negotiations, not as being because there's too much time spent on purchase orders, but as being because you don't have the skills to negotiate effectively. And therefore, we get to step 5, which is you are stuck in purchase order placement jail. You can't get out of it. Your career languishes, your income levels stagnate, and to me, the worst thing of all and I see this all over the world in all professions, pardon me, in all industries, is that purchasing professionals and procurement professionals are frustrated, and they have morale problems, but it doesn't have to be this way. And so I want to help you get out of it. Take a look at this slide. And the point here is actually to twist the knife a little bit. I want you to be aware of how much pain you're actually in. Because you can get used to all the things that encompass your day, the same way you can get used to migraine headaches. Procurement professionals are trying to do everything at once. You're juggling so many balls, negotiations, supply-based reduction, on-time delivery, expiring contracts, green purchasing. When I started my procurement career, I had about 3 metrics I had to track. When I finished it as a practitioner, I had about 35 metrics I had to track. It's even more today. And so you have a tough job, and I really understand that. But you cannot treat all deliverables as equal, and also you cannot be in a reactive role. Not all these things have to happen. You have to position yourself so that you're proactive. It's no longer acceptable as a procurement professional professional to be a firefighter. I want you to be somebody who prevents fires, and those are the people who need to get rewarded. And I want you to remember this. Nobody ever got on the fast
Kiếm quay lại tự nhiên đi ngồi quay thì không có tải về không có ai gấp luôn.
track to being the next director of corporate purchasing because they were so good at putting out fires. Some of the things you need to do, first of all, you really have to know your business. You have to look at spending reports and forecasts. You have to look at where the money's going and which commodities. Then you have to make sure you're really focusing your energies in the right areas. And it's really easy to say, okay, we just have to do the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or the ABC approach. There's some real intelligence, business intelligence that needs to go beyond this. And sometimes you're not doing business with the right suppliers. Sometimes you need to go with suppliers with more global capabilities or that are more capable to operate autonomously so that you're not back in the role of being a firefighter. As a procurement professional, I want you to be the maestro, but I bet money you feel like you're the maestro and the orchestra right now. And that is not a sustainable model. We're going to drive strategies to get you so that you're spending 90% of your money. Now it says here with 5 to 10% of your supply base. I want to do better than that. You should be spending 90% of your money with 1% of your supply base in the indirect space, and you can get there. If you follow my lead, we're going to cover key strategies to go there. You also need to aggregate and allocate your spends, and not all expenditures are created equal. And if you try to treat all suppliers, all contracts, all purchase orders, all expenditures equal, you'll never be successful as a procurement professional. So we need to aggregate spends, and there's certain things that are going to go below the radar we won't focus on, and that's part of the decision-making process. Then we'll have you reallocate your time. Every day, your focus will increasingly be on strategic activities. And you know how you know you're spending your time wrong? If you're doing a status report and you can't think of what to write on it, then that means you're spending your time incorrectly. If you know you spent all day helping customers, putting out fires, doing good deeds for the company, but you still don't know what to write in your status report, or when you're doing your performance review and you're writing your own version for your manager to look at, if you don't know what to write or you're not seeing the progress that you really want to see, The risk that you run in our profession is that you turn around after 20 years and you find out you don't have 20 years experience. You actually have 1 year experience 20 times. And so you need to be careful, and we need to focus our time on strategy. I'm going to teach you how to reallocate your time.
Okay. Omid, we just came straight to step 2, so it answers the questions that the question that I was about to ask. What do you negotiate for? Now we put there step 2 is negotiate for results, but could you please tell us what actually we mean by that?
Okay, so negotiation for results is really important concept. The problem is so many of us are negotiating for goods and services instead of negotiating for performance results. The fact that we're negotiating for goods and services, that sounds like a good thing, but what's actually happening is when you buy goods and services, the supplier can wipe their hands clean after they deliver and move on to the next customer. We want to negotiate for performance results so that the supplier's hard work just begins after they do the delivery. Now, some of the things I want you to remember is that purchasing's biggest enemy and I'm going to be really blunt here, is actually arrogance. Thinking that you have to have the answers. You don't. A good leader doesn't have to have the answers. A good leader surrounds themselves with the right people, with smart people, recognizes good ideas and latches onto them and knows how to make them reality. You have to be able to recognize that suppliers understand their industry better than you do, and that's totally okay. That doesn't mean that you're not a smart individual. It just means actually that you're exceptionally smart because you're recognizing the value that they bring to the table. In doing so, you need to set an expectation up front. And you have to tell your suppliers, your job is not to deliver a product or service. Your job is to ensure we're successful and that I'm successful. All of their activities have to support that. So correspondingly, every RFP you send out as an example should solicit 2 responses. One is what you're already asking for today, which is exactly to the specifications and scope of work. The other one is for an alternate and additional response, which is a smarter way to fulfill this demand at a lower TCO. Asking the supplier, can these specs, can this scope of work be modified?
Threat
Are there
has been
things we should
detected.
get rid of? It's important to tell suppliers why you're doing the purchase, what the purpose of it is, so that they can help you solve the problems. I'm going to share with you, if we had more time, and if you attend the seminars, countless examples of where purchasing and procurement asked for the wrong things and the supplier didn't say anything because you didn't ask them or we didn't ask them. We need to get into the business of doing that. Having them tell us if some of our requests are costing a lot of money or if other customers are doing this smarter so we can learn from it and become better negotiators.
Omid, we have a question here which actually will lead us to the next point. Yeah, okay, the guy is saying it's Saiful from Malaysia, saying, yeah, we negotiate for results, but you know what? I have
hello,
a few
everybody.
suppliers who have all the leverage. What can I do? Over to you.
And welcome to
So,
this online
as
class
we
webinar
start
titled Successful Negotiations in
Driving aggregate of business, we have to be able to create more value and more money to give to suppliers so that it becomes a really strong value proposition. Okay, so now let's look at understanding the supplier. Now, you have to do an assessment of how badly the supplier wants your business. You really need to know this. Because suppliers are taught and salespeople are taught to make it seem as if they don't need your business, as if they can walk away from your business. And so before negotiations ever start, there's a series of questions you have to ask, and we're going to go through a highlight of a few of those key questions that need to be asked. One of them is, what percentage of your business will be coming from our firm with this proposed contract value? The reason this is important to ask is because you need to understand how big a piece of their business are you going to be. Now, in and of itself, this question won't give you the answer, but if you ask a few more questions, it starts to give you the picture, and I guarantee there's a total of 6 questions. I guarantee by the time you go through all of them, you will know if the supplier can walk away, you will know how badly they need your business, and you will know what your negotiating strength is going into negotiations before they ever start. The next question is, relative to your other customers, what is our organization's expenditure ranking with this proposed contract value? Now, what that tells you again is, are you number 1, number 2, number 3, or so forth? My guidance to you is, if you're in the top 10, you're doing good. If you're in the top 5, you're doing really good. And if you're number 1, 2, or 3, you should be able to hit it out of the ballpark and get a really good negotiation strategy and results. The next question is really powerful, and it's an innocent question. Are you currently operating at full capacity? You could ask this question differently by asking, do you need to incur any new expenditures in terms of plant, property, or equipment to support our business? Either one of them is okay because they're both the same question. Now, you have to understand the mechanics of cost. And in my full-blown seminars, I go through this in deep detail. But there's fixed costs and there's variable costs. The fixed costs are already paid. If they're not operating at full capacity, then you, the next customer, is the most profitable customer they're ever going to have because their fixed costs are already paid for and they're getting economies of scale on their variable costs. Therefore, if you're the answer to them using up more capacity without incurring more fixed costs, they cannot walk away from that business. And you are at a substantial liability if you don't know the answer to that question before going into negotiations.
Just before going to the ground rules, Omid, you mentioned a very important point: fixed cost and variable costs. We did a webinar a few weeks ago on cost price analysis, and that was one of the points. And what's it understood, I believe everybody understands that when the volume goes up, a price should go down for a simple reason, because